Our new guest here is Joerg from Room77, right?
That is correct.
All right, and we met a little bit last year in Prague. I didn't get a chance to visit you in Berlin, but I would love to go. And why don't you just tell the people a little bit about Room77 and what you guys started doing years ago?
I usually prefer other people saying that, but I can try. Room77 is a rock and roll bar and restaurant in Berlin, and some 8 years ago or so, people say it was 2010, we had the weird idea to accept Bitcoin. Actually, the first Bitcoin payment came from the person behind the glass here who was just sitting there and shilling his Lightning altcoin. Yeah, so it was actually quite an important step for Bitcoin, which we only realized afterwards, because before we did that, all media coverage about Bitcoin was about hackers stealing credit card details, stealing drugs on the black markets, and all the images that media delivered when they were reporting about Bitcoin was a guy with a black hoodie photographed from behind, sitting in front of a screen with some source code or something.
That's right.
And after the media had realized that there is an actual bar and restaurant they could go to, and there are people who actually look into the camera and explain why they are using Bitcoin, and everybody could see they don't seem to be big drug kingpins or something. It seems to be normal people who do something that everybody is used to do, namely buying dinner or getting drunk and paying for that with Bitcoin. So they had something to show. And I think in the years, I'd say in the year 2000, no individual or organization created more media coverage, and especially more positive media coverage, than that stupid little bar in Kreuzberg. That's the story.
I want to add to it, actually, so I'm going to steal your mic. So
regular customer adding.
Since Joerg doesn't want to shill Room77 himself, so first of all, I don't know, a few years ago, I think it was 2014, when I was like a big part of World Crypto Network, because it was very, very small, right? When Chris Ellis was still on. So that was a place where you could go. I think I didn't really know Joerg, but it was like you felt at home, because everyone else oh, Bitcoin is oh, you speculating, or you're buying drugs online and whatever, and you sort of felt a bit excluded. Even though some people thought it was cool, but for maybe wrong reasons, and yeah. So I mean, it was and it is like a physical space. It's kind of funny that for a digital currency, a physical space actually does matter a lot, because I mean, we all made of meat, so and then you can get a very good meat there. And then there is also a story of Room77 beyond Bitcoin. The fact that it was opened originally on the street that was kind of a little bit dangerous, a little bit shitty, with no lights, that people didn't want to walk, and then it's sort of this. So both ways, in a meat space of Berlin, it sort of created this safe space, and for the Bitcoiners as well. Yeah, so this is about Room77, but I think the reason why we kidnapped Joerg and keeping him in this very, very small glass room with not a lot of air is because also he gave this talk, and he's one of important thinkers of the freedom of transaction. So I maybe want him to elaborate on that, and maybe Theo can phrase questions a bit better.
I have a little bit first, because I often tell your story, and I usually tell it romantically, because it wasn't just that your bar started accepting Bitcoin. Several of the articles that I read said that you kind of went door to door to all the other shops on the street, and they said, they trusted you, and they said, well, Joerg's accepting this crazy Bitcoin thing, maybe we'll accept it. And for a little while there, you had a whole Bitcoin neighborhood in Kreuzberg where all the businesses, flower shops and convenience stores and just all these kind of people were all accepting Bitcoin. And I really tell a story of you as kind of one of the first entrepreneurs who's out there. You know, first you had the guts to accept it, then you were able to convince your neighbors and your friends on the street to also accept it. So is that true? Is that how it worked out?
That's what we did back then, and it was literally, there was a website, the Bitcoin Kiez, whereas Kiez is a Berliner slang for neighborhood. So yes, we did walk out and convinced other people to accept Bitcoin. We had a little enabler team,
Great.
Jeff and Manuel, and also Andreas Schildbach, who wrote the first mobile wallet, who would go to a shop and see what do they have, what infrastructure, how can we enable them to accept Bitcoin, and stuff like that. Now, the problem of that was Gresham's law. You know Gresham's law? Gresham's law states that bad money will always drive good money out of circulation. So that means most of these shops hardly got any turnover in Bitcoin.
That's right.
This is one thing, and the other thing is that we did that for a year or two, and this is years ago. There's a high fluctuation in businesses, and especially in Berlin-Kreuzberg, it's a very happening neighborhood. So most of these businesses don't exist anymore, actually. I funnily now realized for the last 6-12 months maybe that the number of businesses accepting Bitcoin all over Berlin is absolutely growing, and there's actually bar owners or retailers turning up at Room77 and asking, how can we do that, how do you do that, how do you deal that with the taxes and so on. So there is a slight pickup in retail adoption of Bitcoin in Berlin, which is a great thing.
Can I ask a question?
I just want to ask for the... Yes, you can, momentarily.
Is everybody wearing sunglasses here?
Yes, we are. So isn't there another bar accepting Bitcoin that's friendly with Room77? I forgot.
Oh yes, there is.
I forgot the name, and I remember. I think the owner, the woman starting it, was there last time I was there, but I forgot the name of it. Can we mention it? Can we show that too?
There's a few places accepting Bitcoin. There's Bar Fabelhof just around the corner. There's Clandestino, which is a beautiful tapas bar and wine shop.
It was Fabelhof.
I think what you mean was Floor's Cafe right next to Fabelhof.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
I think I went to Fabelhof. It was lit only by candles. Yeah,
we used to have the Bitcoin Mädchen ovens.
Exactly, the female Bitcoin enthusiast meetup was at Fabelhof. That's correct.
We used to have.
That's nice.
You say we had, that means it doesn't exist anymore?
It merged with the male one, I guess.
Okay.
That's good.
Is that, so what do we call that? Is that not Gresham's law? That's like I don't know, we have to figure out another law.
It's the opposite of forking, but remember, it's always important if you're going to have a merger, to wear one of these, right?
I had a question for you. So one of the things that obviously Room77 is famous for all kinds of things, and one of the things I really like is that poster you've got up about Coinbase. And you touched on that in your talk today, but you go to all the trouble of having a poster up in the bar saying, please don't pay us with payments that come from Coinbase. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, and that's not only Coinbase. I think that sign still says Circle, but what we actually mean is custodial services. People hold their money on the Coinbase bank website, or whatever you want to call it, and send Bitcoin from there. Now the problem, there's quite a few problems with that, but the one that I see the most significant in this context is that Coinbase is a bank, and banks monitor and survey their customers. And Bitcoin banks like Coinbase actually are doing that in a much, much more intrusive way.
It's just bad for the sound.
Just for the audience, Xenia has given us some fresh air here. Coinbase or any other Bitcoin banks are doing the monitoring of their customers in a much more intense way, in a much more privacy violating way, because they can. Like when you go in Berlin, you know, they sell drugs in the Görlitzer Park around the corner, so you can go to a bank, withdraw 50 euros and then go to the park and buy drugs, and the banker cannot know what you did with these 50 euros. If you withdraw your bitcoins from Coinbase into your own wallet and then spend it somewhere, Coinbase can actually see where you spend it to. Coinbase follows your transactions over a couple of hops. Now what I started doing at Room77, because I want to educate is a stupid word, but I really do want to educate people on not using custodial services for storing their Bitcoin and transferring them. So what I started doing was, if I realized somebody is sending Bitcoin to us from a Coinbase wallet, I took a fraction of that and forwarded it to a soccer betting website. Now, soccer betting is gambling. That's illegal in the United States of America, and Coinbase is enforcing American laws in Germany. That means if they realize that you bet on your favorite soccer team, they block your account, and that's that poster you saw there, because right, if you send us money from Coinbase or any other privacy violating bank, we might shut your bank account down, because that's what Coinbase does when they realize you forward your own money to a soccer website. Now people said, that's really mean of you, Joerg. I was like, no, it's not mean of me, because you got a beer for that money. Now the money is mine, and I can do with my money whatever I want. And if you use that money in a way that the bank is going to close your account, when I do with my money what I want, then that should be a lesson to learn for you and not a reason to complain to me. That's a good
idea. And additionally, Coinbase really isn't a wallet. When you push send on Coinbase, it works some of the time, whereas if you have a real wallet and you push send, your money's gone. Coinbase doesn't always send the money.
Not straight away, and that's usually when, you know, somebody's on the other side of the bar and they scan your code and then they click send, and then you sit there and wait, and you're gonna, you know, then there's right now literally two reasons, or two things that could be the reason the person sent an RBF transaction, which our wallet will only display after first confirmation. Just because we put the settings.
Because they could change the fees on it, which is a nice feature, but it's also can be used against you, and they could attempt to steal from the merchant.
Exactly. I mean, we want to move to Lightning now anyway as fast as possible, and then that is not then that is not necessary anymore.
Right.
Especially with the great help of the FOMO and Lightning Hack Day people and Jeff and all this great stuff they're doing.
Right.
No, I'm losing track. What was I about to say?
I mean, replaced by fee, and Coinbase doesn't always send.
Money doesn't show up in my wallet. It's usually sent from a Coinbase account.
That's right.
And then I ask people, what wallet are you using? And then they say, I sent you Bitcoin from my Coinbase wallet. And I said, no, you did not send me Bitcoin, because in the first place you don't actually own any. A bank owns your Bitcoin, and you did not send me Bitcoin. You asked your bank to send me Bitcoin whenever they feel like. You know, there's a big difference there. But you're absolutely right. That's just another reason to not want to touch Coinbase in any way.
I've also seen a lot of people who hold their funds in their local Bitcoins account. And again, local Bitcoins is not a wallet. It's a centralized website. They could send your money, or they could keep your money. It's not the same as running out of wallets these days. Green Address seems pretty good. Airbits used to be all right. Not so sure about Edge. Android Samurai wallet is fantastic. They tell me all the time, but I have an iPhone. So I got to get the Android thing and try out all these new things.
Wallet.
Don't forget Electrum.
Electrum is good.
Just the Android
Mycelium.
It's kind of funny with the Bitcoin wallet. When people with Android phone ask me, like, what kind of Bitcoin wallet I should install, it's like, well, Bitcoin wallet. It's like, but which one? I mean, the Bitcoin wallet by Andreas Schilbach. And I think that the reason why it's cool, I mean, if you met Andreas Schilbach, you kind of know that he will, like, it's not a commercial project for him, it's a lifestyle project, so he will bend over backwards to actually introduce good features and make sure it's not buggy and it's working, right? So if you see someone dedicating their life to some piece of software, then you can be sure it's going to be a good one.
Can you tell us more about the cheeseburger token and how much it's been used and the whole concept? What is it? Cheese and bacon? I think I have one. You sent me one. Yeah, and you know, so I'm keeping it as a collector's item right now. But I guess if I went there one day, I could redeem it for a bacon cheeseburger, right?
This is correct, but you're not going to want to do that. The point is that the Room77 bacon cheese coin, as it's called, is a derivative on bacon cheeseburgers that we issued some years ago. Because we already know today that all, I mean, I don't have to mention Room77 bacon cheese coins are of limited supply. There's only 77 pieces existing in the world. Wow. Now, since we know that all the money that is stored in gold these days will at some point flow into bacon cheeseburger investments, you only have to divide the market capitalization of gold on the planet by 77, then you know the future value of one Room77 bacon cheese coin.
It seems like a
in action. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's a much better investment than Big Mac coin, which actually expires at the end of the year. McDonald's had a promotion where for every Big Mac you'd buy, they'd give you one Big Mac coin. And I was like, oh, I'm going to hodl that until the future, and then we get some kind of space age, DNA, genetic meat. It's going to be fantastic. But it expires at the end of the year, although they were selling for at least 2 or 3 times their value on eBay. So even money printed by McDonald's seems more valuable than the US dollar these days.
There is another background story to the Room77 bacon cheese coin, though, that I mentioned in my talk today. And that is, I had realized back then, I mean, you could click it together, right? I'm not some kind of software programmer or computer engineer or whatever. But I realized what this actually is, namely a globally, anonymously tradable derivative on a real world good. And
too good, cheese and bacon.
And I found that really astonishing back at the time, and as I mentioned in my talk today, like governments, financial regulators, only in the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 months with this ICO hype realized the actual scope of this technology. When we issued the Room77 bacon cheese coin as for fun, obviously, but to prove a concept, they were still discussing amongst the German financial regulators if they should put VAT on Bitcoin payments. And we were like, hey, don't they get the scope of this technology? You know, we're talking about decentralized securities and derivatives and financial products and all of that. And financial regulators have only understood this in the last 6 to 12 months. So this is the actual interesting story about this, I believe.
So that was a counterparty asset.
Yeah, it is.
And
it still is.
It still is a counterparty
and it will
asset.
be, yeah.
Yeah, and will be. But don't you think that it's a healthy and positive thing that with all the kind of hype around Ethereum tokens that over the last 6 months to 1 year people have been talking a lot more about counterparty assets, and yeah, I know Theo's a big advocate of counterparty for asset issuance, especially when it comes to art things. What's the general opinion? Good thing, bad thing?
Well, I think it's a good thing. But like something like bacon cheese token, there's only 77. So it's not a token that is going to be in a game or, you know, used, like sent back and forth a lot. You know what I mean, between addresses. So it's something that is, especially considering the capitalization of all the gold in the world, divided by 77, this is something that has a high value that is sent at a low amount of times per year, for example, or ever. You see what I mean? And in my opinion, like on Bitcoin, that's fine, because you could use a low fee and you're not sending it like every day a whole lot. It's something that has a lot of value that you would just send sometimes. So like something like art or this kind of, or even like, I guess you could call it like a token of appreciation or something. Because like, yeah, that's what I was going to add. We can repeat that. So I created Theos, and it's part of the Bitcoin game. And of course, everyone should check out bitcoins.com. Chill a second here. And, but I made it before you gave the talk in Essen at the Blockchain Hotel, and there you explained in more detail about the seashells. Now everyone uses the seashell memes like, yeah, they did, on this island they even used seashells for money. But nobody really really goes into a lot of detail about it. And you did, and I was like, that makes total sense. That's essential. It's kind of like NFTs, basically. And it's kind of how, and then I kind of was doing the Theos now like that, because if I just met someone and I liked them, then I'd be like, download a counterparty wallet, because I have to give you a Theos. But it was just because I want to give them the Theos. You know what I mean? It was just, so it was a similar idea. Not each one is unique, but I mean, it's limited. But I mean, you could do it like that in NFT style. But just for people that don't know, give us the short version of the seashell meme.
So this is a seashell money that I discovered when I did research for a book that I wrote on Bitcoin. And we all know there's been different kinds of seashell monies around. In some civilizations it was rare shells. In other civilizations, like the big North American native civilization, used wampum. Those were like beds made of beads made of a certain kind of shell. So there it wasn't the scarcity of the shell, but it was the work that went into the shell. But usually shell money has something like that scarcity or labor that went into the things to make it valuable. This seashell money we were talking about there is outstanding because no labor goes into the shell. It's the original shell, and those shells are not scarce. The beaches are literally littered with these shells. It's literally money lying on the ground. Now, you get like, oh, how can that work? Like everybody who wants to buy something just goes down to the beach and picks up some money and goes and buys it. That can't work. Every economist will tell you this is nonsense. It can't work. So I looked behind this, and there's a really interesting background, and that is that people would not use that seashell money as money in the form that we use money. Like, if I wouldn't catch enough fish today to feed my family, and you're my neighbor, and you invite my family for dinner, I would pay you in one of these shells. But you would not take that shell next day, go somewhere else and buy something for it. You would use that shell and decorate your house on the outside. And you're like, wow, that's weird. But here comes the story. This is a society where people derive their social status from what they did for other people. So you decorate your house. You cannot even at nighttime go down to the beach and take some shells and put them on your house, because every shell on your house has a story behind it. A fake would literally be realized by people. So that means the more shells you have on your house, the more you did for other people, the more you show your potential, the more you show what you can achieve, what you can do for other people, the higher is your social status. And this is a beautiful example of how it's culture. It's our culture that defines how we use stuff, and it's also culture that defines what makes your social status, what makes other people think you're a good person. That society had created an economy where the more you did for other people, the higher your social status would be. Whereas I believe we have created a society where the more you take from other people, the higher your social status will be. And I think this is a beautiful, mind-blowing experience, or if you understand that, you do realize that how fucked up whatever our society is, there is still hope to change it, because it's what we created we can change, and what priorities we set for our lives or our goals or whatever, that's what defines our society.
And I had a similar idea when Bitcoin came out, because you could finally see kind of how much money everyone had. And in my mind, I thought that in the future, hoarding a large amount of Bitcoin and doing nothing with them would be looked down upon. That people would actually say, you're just holding that money and doing nothing with it, whereas someone else, like you're saying with the seashells and giving them out, someone who donates to projects, someone who supports things and like puts their money to work in the ecosystem would be celebrated. We haven't quite gotten there yet. A lot of people are holding till they get $1 million or whatever, and a lot of people have a lot more. But generally, I agree with you that we need more patrons. We need more people that are supporting other people, that aren't just hoarding a large amount of money. And certainly you need some money to live, and you need rent money and food money, books and laptops and computers and stuff. But beyond that, you could give it back to the community, and that you could share it around. I think it's a great story with the seashells.
Or do something reasonable with that money. This is what I also see. The buzzword of the great wealth transfer has been around for a couple of years. It has not yet happened, but what has happened is that there's a few billions, a few tens of billions in the hands now of enthusiastic, idealistic young people who have their whole life in front of them, who want to shape the world now, who don't need that money now because they know, hey, I'm a software engineer, I will always make money, but I would love to live in a better world, and they spend their money on projects on which banks or old white rich guys would never spend their money. There was the Pineapple Fund is one of them, but also I know in my surroundings, I know that people love to spend 10, 20, 30 grand on some software project, on something that they think is important for the future. So that's also a great thing about that.
And we've been fortunate here at the World Crypto Network to support a variety of those projects. I'll just go through them again because I like talking about them. But the first one was ProTip, and you can download it today at protip.is. And Chris Ellis and I and a programmer worked on it. We raised about $15,000, went entirely to the project. And what ProTip does is it's a Google Chrome plugin that scans the web pages you visit for a Bitcoin address. When it finds one, it times how long you spend on that page. And at the end of the week, based upon your allowance, it'll donate money to the top 10 websites you visit automatically with Bitcoin. It uses batching far before Coinbase and other people finally got to batching. So it saves your money on transaction fees. It's completely open source and free. So if anyone wants to download ProTip at protip.is and make a Lightning version, it's totally available to you. The source code is on GitHub at the bottom of the page. We also supported an idea called Mistos, MISTHOS.io, and it's a multi-signature wallet based on Blockstack. So you use Blockstack to log in, and Blockstack stores your data, but what Mistos does is it allows you to create a venture. So if we were to create a software company right here, well, we could trust me and send all the money to my account, but obviously I could run off with it. Or we could create a venture on Mistos, which solves a lot of the complexity of multi-sig, because you can vote people in and vote people out, as opposed to having to recreate the wallet all the time, and we'd all have to sign it. New person joins, we recreate the wallet, we all have to sign it, we have to move the money over, we have to vote that. It does all of that, and then we also vote on each of the transactions. So if we're going to spend $2,000 on a new computer, I vote, you vote, everyone votes. And this is totally free, open source, and you can get it at mistos.io. And then the last one, really briefly, is called Tallycoin at tallyco.in. And my friend DJ Booth in Australia built this on one of my ideas that I gave to my roommate, and he didn't build, and he went away. And basically what Tallycoin is, you bring a Bitcoin address from your Trezor, your Ledger, paper wallet, and you bring a goal, like earn $100, buy a guitar. And Tallycoin creates a thermometer, so 0 to 100, and it just tracks how close you are to your goal. And it's just a way of fundraising, and Tallycoin doesn't take any cut. They can't get into your wallet at all. And the only way Tallycoin makes money is they put up a Tallycoin for Tallycoin to get money for the servers. And anyone can use this for any fundraising goal that they want. preferably a positive one, not a negative one. But you just go to tallyco.in with a Bitcoin address and how much you want to raise, and that's it. You have a tally coin. And these kind of projects, which are all open source and generally free, are the kind of things that you can make when you believe in the software and you're not necessarily trying to make money. All of these projects, though great ideas, haven't been big money makers because we didn't print our own coin and we didn't ICO and all these things, but they are all available and open source and free. You can try them out. So.
Yeah, that's going to tie into what I want to ask too. We discussed it earlier, but yeah, for example, there's this new project, the Bee Foundation, and you know, one of the, now I will, like I said earlier, I haven't dived deep into the white paper yet, but you know, one of the points is to, you know, help fund developers and development of Bitcoin. I assume is the main one, but potentially other projects. But you know, some people might remember the Bitcoin Foundation, and what was his title? Head Bitcoin scientist or something, and chief scientist. Yeah, and then it would be like, no, he did a lot of great important development, but then what happened is that like newspapers would be like, this is the head scientist of Bitcoin, or
CEO of Bitcoin.
CEO of Bitcoin, yeah.
But and not to get into all the discussion about the Bitcoin Foundation, but you know, we saw, you know, the problems, the good things and the bad things that happened, or like in Germany, there was like a need for lobbying at some point, you know, like the Bundesverband, like just to explain like to politicians, this is Bitcoin, this is how it works, it's not magic, or, you know, what it is. So what do you think about the, I don't know if you've had time to, you know, go into, what do you think of this new thing, the Bee Foundation?
I haven't really looked into it. I don't have much hope for all these kinds of organizations, even though I've been a founding board member of the Bundesverband. But yeah, also over the years it's been clear, innovation and the stuff that really matters happens not inside these kind of organizations. It happens because some really smart guy with idealism and enthusiasm is sitting down on his butt at night and delivering some hard work and creating something. I think all these foundations, organizations, lobby groups, whatever, is usually a lot of hot air. It's your usual hierarchic structures in these organizations. I don't want to speak negative about the Bee Foundation, because I don't know what they're doing, and actually I think I know 2 or 3 names of people who are on there who to me seem to be very, well, legit and authentic people. I think Giacomo Zucco is on there. Is Eric on there too? I'm not sure.
I know Giacomo's on there.
Anyway, so yeah, give them a chance. Let's see what they're doing. They cannot do much harm, I believe. The Bitcoin Foundation didn't do much harm either, except burning a lot of money off a lot of...
Yeah, so we said earlier, they made a fire, what did you say, a fire of 500 or 5,000 Bitcoins?
It was 5,000 Bitcoins. It could have been an incredible endowment if they just burned it slowly, but they wanted to go first class, and they wanted to stay in 4-star hotels, and they went to a lot of great conferences and had a great time, I'm sure, and sponsored a lot of things. But yeah, you could see the fire from space. It was that big.
So in 3 minutes, Frank is speaking, and I think maybe most of us want to go and listen to Frank.
Okay.
And I really want to kidnap Joerg tomorrow again, because I think we have a lot to talk about, and some points that you brought in the talk, behind the enemy lines, part 2, I think could be cool. So
sure. We'd love to have you back, and also I just want to let everyone know that at home that Theo, Ksenia, and Rian have all been on the World Crypto Network, and it's just really cool to have everybody back here and to get a chance. We didn't really talk, but to talk about old times and Chris Ellis, and that we just had a lot of fun live streaming, and I don't think we've ever been in the same room together. So it's pretty cool, I think. So.
Yeah.
Maybe
where is Chris?
Well, I asked him if he would be in England or something, but he would.
Not here.
No, he said maybe he's in Switzerland or something.
But you didn't hear it from us.
No, or maybe he's in Detroit or California or Florida or New York. It could be in any of these places. But it would be great if Chris came to this conference or any conference. I go to a fair amount of conferences these days, even on the other side of the world right here for me. And it would be great to see Chris again.
Yeah, because this is history being made, right?
I really think it is. And remember, you have to show up. And like Joerg was saying earlier with the B Foundation, I think it was Steve Jobs that said, real artists ship. So you have to make something. And if the B Foundation makes something, I'll like it. If they become a centralized repository directing development, if they become a centralized media source, acting like the CEOs of Bitcoin and traveling first class and so on and so forth, I'm not going to like it. But you are right, we should give them a chance. There are some good people in there. But just like George Carlin says, there's this God and he's all powerful and he's everywhere and he needs money. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys so much, and we'd love to talk to you again tomorrow. And thank you for your work with Room77.
Thank you
very
for
exciting
having me.
stuff.
Thank you for doing all this, and let's stop thanking each other.
That's great. So thank you guys so much for being
We're in the
on.
same camp.
That's right.
Okay. All right, viewers. I don't know what's going to happen now.
And a message to the people outside, please send us another guest. I know they were stacking up, and maybe there's some still out there. And don't forget all your jackets and fuzzy backpacks, and beers and so on and so forth. Oh, watch out for the light.
Doesn't this guy want to come on?
Oh, everyone wants to come on, Theo, until there's an open slot. Then we hit the wall.
Until when did you want to stream today?
Oh, well, I'm getting my second wind. We're going to have to close that door. It's incredibly loud, which is also really convenient. No, I got some meat and some potatoes. I was talking to the people out there about organizing things. They have this really neat thing out there called the silent disco. We were able to hook up to, and hopefully not damaging our audio, but you can put on headphones and you can listen to the World Crypto Network, maybe even anywhere in this building. So it was pretty cool. You can find some headphones downstairs in the basement. Not a lot of people know we're down here, but if you're in the HCPP conference area, come check out the silent disco and listen to the World Crypto Network. Theo, do you want to go to the talk, or are you going to hang out with me?
I don't know. I guess that I'm going to hang out here. I don't have a topic, but if the audience wants to suggest one, or you want to suggest one.
Well, I'm thinking it's a great time to drag Ryan off of his stool and to bring Ryan on here from behind the camera. What do you think, Ryan?
No, I just got back.
Oh, he just got back. Okay, well,
okay.
Once again, AdgyLeak, ADGJY underscore, no underscore.
Should I just come in front of the camera?
Yeah, I know. Well, it might be easier, but you got to follow Ryan on Twitter, and you got to get on his YouTube channel. He broadcasts these kind of conferences all the time: Linux conferences, open source conferences, privacy conferences. They're all there on the AdgyLeak YouTube channel, and we're only broadcasting in HD with nice microphones because of Ryan and his gear, and we rarely get a chance to celebrate him. So whenever we have a little space, I want to try to do that. We're also still fundraising money for Max's Purism laptop. We're not quite getting the kind of donations that we used to. It's a down market, I know. People are bummed out. We all lost a lot of theoretical money, and probably will have less when it goes back up. But we are 75.63% towards our goal. That means only 25% remaining.
Needs ICO probably.
I know, we need more tokens. And we would like to thank donor 0.003 for supporting us. And one more time, I wanted to walk up, hopefully not get caught on the chair, and see if we can show you that QR code and see if you guys want to donate to Max and the Purism laptop, which again, if you donate, you will get free content. Max will review the Purism laptop. He'll tell you all about it, and it's truly going to be fantastic. And we're going to have Theo on again later.
Yeah, I'm just taking a break.
Thanks to Theo. And we're joined again by Dan, the Crypto Raptor. We've raised 0.22 Bitcoin. We're still 0.08 towards our goal to try to get Max this Purism laptop, which he will review and he'll use and he'll love. And we'll really learn a lot about open source hardware and our attempts to get closer and closer to this goal, which is hardware where you know that it's executing the code that you tell it to. And it's been a big problem. It's been in the news lately. China may or may not have snuck some chips into some Amazon and some Apple machines. These chips, a hardware attack, very different than a software attack. A software attack, you get in and you cause some ruckus. A hardware attack, you put the chip on the motherboard, and then you can even just say, instead of checking the password, just have no password. You get full access to the system. Lots and lots of systems perhaps affected by this. Apple and Amazon both fighting back, saying this didn't happen, this isn't true, but at the same time they haven't filed any court papers yet. And you can always tell if something's true because people will sue you in court. If they don't sue them, it might be true and we might be totally exposed. Remember, Amazon's also building the new Department of Defense cloud for the Pentagon. So the military guys had better start getting on this open source hardware and this whole idea, because once again with encryption, yeah, it allows the bad people to encrypt their messages, but it also allows the rest of us to use online banking, to communicate securely, and of course, to use Bitcoin. So Dan, how's it going? I think the air feels a little bit better with less people, but we're in here in the fishbowl. This is probably hour 4 or 5 or something. How's the conference going for you?
It's cool. I mean, like every conference is completely unique, and you know, so far this year I've done like CoinFest, Consensus, Blockchain Hotel, Riga a couple of weeks ago for Honey Badger, and you know, all these conferences are all incredible. That you meet some amazing people. I'm continuously learning. I'm continuously getting corrected, which I like, because I don't like to be, you know, talking crap basically. So
well, it's okay to be wrong. Yeah, I always tried to be perfect, and I tried to be right all the time, and it was very constricting and difficult for me. And now I say what I think I know, and then Peter Todd corrects me, and in general I learn from that. I don't really like being wrong still, but I'm okay with it, and I'm trying to put it out there and to learn more, like you're saying.
Yeah, and you know, meeting, well, when you popped out earlier, so Eric Lombroso just came in, and like I was starstruck. I literally sat there, and I was, every time Max was sort of looking at me for a question, I was like, oh shoot, what do I say? Like, I'm sat next to Eric, what do I do? And I was like, you know, just trying to formulate something logical in my head. But yeah, these conferences are cool. You can shift around, walk alongside, you know, get a picture. I think someone said about Peter Todd, they got a picture of Peter Todd, and then there was Elizabeth Stark in the background, you know, and it's just like, it's like watching Hollywood movies, and then suddenly you're walking around with some Hollywood actors.